So the question you might all be asking yourself is, well, why should I use temperature rather than just setting a light color? Well, there's a number of reasons. So the first is that many real-world photographic and studio lights are able to mimic a Kelvin temperature chart via a dial or a touchscreen on the lighting control panel. And so if you're trying to match the CG lighting to on-set lighting, having the Kelvin values of the lights on set will give you a starting point to match your CG lights to. The other reason is that many times a director or client will say, well, look, can you make this light a little bit cooler, or can you make this light a little bit warmer? And so by using the Kelvin temperature scale to drive the color of your light, you'll easily be able to adjust your lighting based on their feedback. And the third is that we don't often ever see pure white lights, so getting used to adding temperature and color into your lights will instantly make your scenes look much more photorealistic. And even by simply just turning the temperature on and leaving it at the default as 6500 will instantly look better than just having a plain white light. So let's dive straight into Solaris and have a look at light color. So here we are in Solaris, and we have our Reflectotron robot here, and he's got two lights around him. The first light he's got this dome light, which is just adding a little bit of fill to our scene, and the intensity is set to 2. And then right above him, I've made a disc light. And so let's have a look at the color. And yeah, you guessed it. All you need to do is set this swatch here to be whatever color you want. And you can have green, you can have blue, you can have pink, you can have red. You can have any color you like, basically. But we're not really going to worry about this color swatch at the minute, because what we want to focus on is this color temperature. And so if I go ahead and enable it, you'll see that actually not very much happens to start with. And this is a bit of a gotcha, is that if your light has a color in this swatch, when you enable color temperature, you won't see any temperature really being applied to it. So you really need to set the saturation of your light down to 0. And now we start to see our default color temperature of 6500, which is what Solaris defines as its base white color, which is D65. So just having a look at the RenderMan docs, we can see that we have this chart here. And this gives us the temperature values to match certain light sources. So for instance, if we want to match a flame, we would type in 1700. If we want to mimic moonlight, we would type a value between 4100 and 4150. If we want to do a overcast daylight, we would do 6500. And then we can go, high as 10,000 or 15,000 for a clear blue sky. And so again, it's pretty self-explanatory. All we need to do is just type a number into here for the Kelvin value that we want to match. And so if you want to match, say, for instance, a candle, you would type a value here of, say, 1800 or even 2200, for instance. Or if you wanted to match daylight, you would type 5600 here. So I spent a bit of time rendering out the robot with a variety of different color temperatures so we could have a look at each one. So this first one here, this is 2400, and as we know from the table, and this is good for mimicking light sources such as candles, flames, and fire sources. The next one here is 3200, which is a really good value for things like tungsten lights, so practical lights that you would find around your home, such as light bulbs. So this next one here is 5600, and from the chart we know that this is roughly daylight. So this next one is 6500, and this is mimicking a cloudy sky. And as we've already seen, this is what Solaris defaults your light temperature to. And so this last one here is 10,000, and it's a good starting point for mimicking things like very blue, bright skies. And so lastly, we know that warm and cool colors complement each other. And by simply having two lights from opposing angles, begins to give our scene much more of a visually pleasing teal look. And so here we have two lights, one cold and the other warm, and when both lights are on, our lighting already starts to feel more interesting and visually pleasing, and all thanks to the wonderful Kelvin temperature.